Hi there, I'm Jen, this is Remembered Reads, and this is going to be the 1001 Books tag. I was tagged by Fraser, whose channel is Fraser Simon's Springboard Thoughts, and this tag was created by Sandy from Miss Reads a Lot, and was inspired by her reading project, which is going through one of those lists of 1001 books to read before you die. I will link to both of their videos below. You should check out their channels. 1001 lists. Do you follow any book lists? It can be a prize list or a challenge like the Rory Gilmore challenge. In general, I don't. When I was living outside of Toronto, I used to follow the Toronto Book Awards, but I never read the entire group of nominations. I just picked and chose what sounded interesting for that, and I don't do that now that I live here again. And I definitely look at the long list of some of the major prizes, but frequently I am not interested enough to read any of them. This year I had one of the Booker long-listed books out of the library at one point, but I didn't actually read it, so yeah, I don't really follow any of them. And I've never really tried to do any of those challenges where you read every book that a character from a particular book or film or TV series reads. So. Next question is 1001 books. How many books do you currently own and how many ebooks? I think I probably have around 50 or 60 ebooks. My Kindle stopped charging, so I don't know what's up with that. So I can't actually, I was gonna say I can't double check. I could look on any other device. I'm just making excuses. In terms of physical books, I have probably about 500 books in this house. I have somewhere between 300 and 400 in Calgary, which is where I had been planning to move 3 years ago. And I have around 1,000 in a storage unit. Which people sometimes comment on this. I'm not paying for that storage unit. This was an employee benefit as part of my ex-husband's expat benefit package. So as long as he's still on an expat assignment, as long as he doesn't get localized where he is now, we will get to keep this storage unit. So there's no need for me to go through it. So there isn't an expense to keeping things there. At some point I will undoubtedly have to go through that, and I will probably get rid of at least 750 of the books that are in there, because I say this in videos sometimes. The number of those that I've thought, oh, I wish I had this book, it has been really small. So those are definitely books that I could have thinned out. 101 books read. Approximately how many books have you read in your lifetime? Do you keep track? I have been on Goodreads since 2007, and before that I kept a reading journal from about 1995 to 2005, I would guess. I don't have access to those journals right now. They're in that same storage locker, so I can't look that up. I would guess somewhere between 4,000 and 5,000 books, but I don't know. I've said this in other tags before. My family was always very interested in reading, so as a child we always went to libraries. I got books from various relatives and family friends and things as a child. So we were, and I mean, especially when you're a young child and your parents are reading storybooks to you, you can get through hundreds and hundreds. So I don't know how you would count that, but yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna say between 4,000 and 5,000, but I don't know. Next question is 1001 Arabian Nights. Have you read any of the stories from the Arabian Nights? Do you have a favorite? And if you haven't read it, do you want to? I have my father's old copy of the 1001 Nights, Les Mille et Une Nuits, technically. And I'm sure we read some of these stories when I was younger, but I quite honestly don't remember most of them. I mean, obviously, there was a Disney movie of Aladdin, so I know that. There's a ballet of Scheherazade, so I know that. But yeah, I guess I should reread it at some point, but oh well. Next question is not a bookish question. It's 1001 flavors. Do you have a favorite food or flavor? And I would say no, but I am a great lover of carbohydrates. Yeah, if it's a pastry or a bread, I will probably enjoy it. You can add anything. It can become savory, it can become sweet, it can be spicy, it can be bland. I'll eat it. 1001 pages. Have you read a book that is over 1001 pages? Is there one that you recommend that's worth the time? What is the longest book you've read? I think a lot of the books that people would have as the longest book they've read are ones that I read in editions that are multiple books. Like I know over here I have the Folio Classique editions of a bunch of Dumas work, and they're all double ones, so they would be over 1,000 pages, but they're 500 something pages each instead. I mean, I've read the usual thing. I did read Ducks Newburyport when that was being buzzed. I read The Stand as a teenager. I definitely have read a lot of fantasy novels that were far longer than they needed to be. So that's not much of a recommendation. I don't know. Is War and Peace over 1,000 pages? I'm not sure. It depends what edition it is. I feel like I had one of the mass market paperback editions that was over 1,000 pages, but I don't know that they all are. I think some of them are 800 something pages. So I don't know. I think most books that are that long, I think most works of fiction that are that long don't need to be that long. And I think most nonfiction that is that long is broken up. It's not published as a single volume, so you get multiple volumes of Butterfly Anatomy, or multiple volumes of religious commentary, social commentary, whatever. Oh wait, is this over 1,000? Hang on, I just realized this might be over 1,000 pages, and I'm not sure, so we're gonna look. Oh my god, this is heavy. All right, this is gonna be my recommendation. This is the omnibus edition of The Invisibles, which is a comic book that was running in the mid to late 90s by Grant Morrison and a variety of artists. I think this is fantastic. This is really heavy. I need to put this down. But I originally read that partially in floppies and partially in trades, so that's kind of a lie too, because I didn't read it originally in the collected edition. But yeah, because this is like 1,500 pages. 1,001 buckets. Do you have a non-bookish bucket list? What is the thing on the list? My philosophy towards bucket lists tends to be that you never know when you're going to get hit by a bus. So I don't really save anything for the someday. So I'm not really saving anything for retirement, but I do want to go to Samarkand in Uzbekistan. But the only reason I haven't done it is because I would have gone with a friend. We were planning to do some hiking in other parts of Central Asia as well, so that would have been part of the trip. But COVID happened, so we did not do that. But one of these days when we're all traveling again. 1,001 numbers. Do you have a lucky number, and is there a story behind it? I don't gamble, so I don't need a lucky number. And I think other people's unlucky numbers are great, because if you're buying a condo and it's on the 4th floor or the 13th floor, there are going to be some people who won't buy that. Although, frankly, a lot of buildings here don't have a 13 or a 4, so. But I don't know, my favorite number sequence is Fibonacci's sequence, but that's just because I remember watching MathNet as a child with the parrot that would recite it. 1, 1, 2, 3, squawk. But I don't think that counts. 1,001 authors. Do you have a favorite author and or genre? I don't really have favorite authors. There are some authors that I expect to do a good job, but I don't really have favorites, to be honest. Yeah, no, not really. In terms of favorite genre, also not really. Yeah, no, I don't have a favorite genre. A bit of everything is good. 1,001 activities. Do you have a favorite outdoor activity? Yeah, I guess snowshoeing, but hiking would be up there too. Because obviously snowshoeing you can't do when there's no snow. 1,001 book clubs. This prompt is not a prompt for us, but it's to encourage everybody to go to Miss Reads a Lot's original video and tell her if you'd like her to create a 1,001 books book club. I'm going to say yes, she should, but I probably wouldn't join because I am lazy. And I think that is the last question. So I should tag some people. I'm going to tag Shannon Riddler, whose channel is not called Planet Shannon, but I think her URL still is. And Roxanne from the novel Sanctuary, and anyone else who feels like doing this tag. So yeah, that's it for now. Ciao.